Melissa here, and I don't know if you guys have been following the quickly escalating, unfolding drama that's going on between the 67-year-old cattle rancher Cliven Bundy in Bunkersville and the Bureau of Land Management. But I've been writing some articles, and the thing is just getting crazy out of control really fast with what's going on. So this affects us all, and I feel like we should definitely have a discussion about it. I wrote this yesterday, the U.S. government versus a cattle rancher. Wake up, America. They're taking everything away from us. Here's what's going on. This man, Cliven Bundy, right here, his family has been grazing cattle in that area of Nevada since 1877, for quite some time. Well before the Bureau of Land Management was even a thing. Well before that even existed. But since 1993... the Bureau of Land Management has said that he must start paying grazing fees for his cattle to graze in this land, which he refused to pay. And then on top of that, in 1988, they declared that this desert tortoise was endangered, and so they cut off the public land from any cattle grazing to save the endangered tortoise. Very Agenda 21-esque. And so they have then said since then that his cattle are trespassing now on this land, which they've been grazing on for over 100 years because of a turtle, basically. That's what's going on, okay? And they're using this turtle as a blanket excuse to now, at this point, they're going to impound his cattle. And when I say impound his cattle, I don't just mean they're going to come over and take his property away. I'm talking they showed up militarized federal agents with helicopters. They showed up with snipers pointing at people. They had all kinds of surveillance equipment. I mean, this was not just any old, we're going to show up and take away your stuff because we're the government. This is like, we're going to descend upon your ranch with full-on martial law. And in some estimates, 200 agents. You have all kinds of stories coming out of all the equipment. They basically set up shop there. Very Waco is what's going on with this, at least is what it sounds like. And they've already seized 234 of this guy's cattle because he refuses to pay these fees. And they're saying that he owes like some ridiculous $1 million or something. But even with the $1 million they're claiming that this man owes them, it's been estimated that it's going to cost the taxpayers $3 million for them to do what they're doing. And it's gotten to the point now where protesters and family members have been tased. One son, Dave, was arrested because they set up these, they set up these First Amendment areas. I forgot to mention, by the way. They set up a First Amendment area for the protesters. Here it is in this little roped off orange gated area here. And when his son Dave decided to take pictures of the feds outside of that nice little roped off area where they put the little sign letting everyone know that's the only place they're allowed to have their First Amendment rights, when he took pictures of them, they roughed him up and arrested him. So things have been quickly getting out of hand, and once that started going on, then you had this.
It is a go. We will be showing up in Nevada to support Cliven Bundy, his family, the cattle ranchers, and the protesters. And reports have already come in that protesters have been arrested, abused.
That's right. That's the militias now coming in. You have militias coming in not just from Nevada, but from states all across the country, right down to Florida. You also have the Oath Keepers releasing a statement where they have vowed now to stand by the Bundy Ranch in the cattle dispute with these federal officers. And I think that Oath Keepers put it very succinctly when they said this is not about cattle. This is about power and the trampling of rights. It's about a systematic power grab and the abuse of power by the federal government as it runs roughshod over the rights of honest, hardworking rural Americans and over the rights of all the western states. And that this is not an isolated incident. These things have happened before. And it's not just ranching under attack. It's mining, farming, logging, fishing, oil and gas, any other industry that's using natural resources or the land. Full spectrum, frontal assault on the rural West. It's truly a range war. This is a tactic they've been using to shut down entire areas in the West and impoverish those people. Those people have worked that land for generations, and they're using an endangered species or some other guise to kick these people out of the land, kick them out of their livelihoods, and basically shut that all down and then own it. The federal government is taking over. And they're saying that unless we the people begin to make a meaningful stand now in full support of patriotic state public servants who are willing to lead us, the domestic enemies of the Constitution will not stop until the West is a land of ghost towns, devoid of people, and we're all crammed into city slums, totally dependent and weak, with no protection of our rights, like third world urbanized peons under the arbitrary and capricious control of corrupt dictators. And that is really what's going on when they come in and say, we're sorry, but your livelihood's gone. We have to protect this turtle. So, and they've actually scared off every other rancher. There used to be 52 ranchers working this land besides Cliven Bundy, and all of the other ones have been pushed off. He's the last guy. He's like the last guy standing on this whole thing. Okay? And quite interestingly, I don't really think it's so much about the desert tortoise, because now reports are coming out that the Bureau of Land Management is actually getting quite a hefty sum for fracking on that land, and that's actually the reason they're trying to push people off. This was put up today on Natural News, and it's all about how documents from the Nevada Bureau of Mines and Geology show all kinds of exploratory drilling is going on in that area, and that they have all these contracts totaling $1.27 million in shale fracking leases right in there in that public land. And by the way, when I say public land, I mean the federal government owns that land. It's not your land, it's not my land, it's the government's land. And to put a point on that, this was in W&D back in 2005 when they were asking, why does the federal government own 65% of all of the land west of Denver? So they're claiming they basically own the whole western half of the country. Okay? Right there. And it says we should all care because the federal government was not created to be the owner of land. It was created to get the right of soil out of the hands of a king. That is, out of the hands of the government. Okay? And I brought this up the other day, and Aaron and I were talking about this, and he's mentioned it many times before, that this whole thing is seeming a lot like the Charter of the Forest. That whole right to forage on this so-called public land. It goes back to the days when kings used to hold that land off, and if you trespassed on the king's royal lands, right, you could be dismembered or put to death. Well, apparently today, it's just martial law and property theft, and they'll throw snipers at you, and they'll descend on your ranch with helicopters, and it's just insane what's going on. And now we have these stories coming out.
Rangers had tasers ready to go as facing down dozens of protesters. One woman says she was hit by a BLM vehicle. Another man says a taser was used on him twice.
There's only one reason why they would have a backhoe and a dump truck up there, and that is because they're cleaning up their mess from killing the animals.
Where's my baby calves?
The rangers here say this is calving season and mother cows are being separated from their babies.
They haven't been able to feed their calves, and that means their calves are starving to death.
The BLM has denied killing any cattle intentionally, only saying that there may be some cases where a cow would need to be euthanized.
So not only are they tasing family members, but the family members say they're actually killing the cattle. And now the BLM is saying, well, we didn't purposefully kill cattle, but we may have had to euthanize some of the cattle. It's like they're provocateuring this whole thing. They're trying to provoke a new Ruby Ridge, Waco type situation so they can just go in there and centralize and assert more government power. Well, it all goes back to what one of the Bundy family members said right here. Wake up, America. Look what our ancestors fought for, and we need to stand up for that. We need to realize what's happening. They're taking everything away from us. This isn't about one family. This is about everyone's family, and it's really true. I mean, this is what's going on, okay? The government is coming in. They're kicking people out. They're saying, you owe fees, you owe all this stuff. Obviously, if this guy had committed an actual crime, this has been going on now since '93. Why didn't they arrest him? If there was some kind of law that he broke, why hasn't he been arrested? He hasn't been arrested because he hasn't broken any actual laws. So now they're coming in and setting up First Amendment areas, like that's even a thing that's in the Constitution at all, and they're taking away this guy's property so that we can save a tortoise. This is Agenda 21, and this is how they're going to enforce it. They will get everyone into the cities. That is the whole point. And they'll do it by force, quite obviously. And so Oath Keepers is calling for everyone who is willing to make a peaceful stand to come out to Bunkersville, Nevada, join in the vigil, and support what's going on there to try and protest this and take a stand against this, because this is tyranny. This is what's going on. And we've got to stand up. When this government tramples one person's rights, they're trampling all of our rights.